you remember when you got her? You had hours and hours to just drive and dream. You spent your Saturdays fixing whatever needed fixing just to keep her running right. 20 years later, isn't it time you two got reacquainted? When you're ready, we're here. Because at LMC Truck, we know that while time may have passed, your passion for her never faded. Get her back on the road where she and you belong.
Now you're watching Gearz, brought to you by LMC Truck. Keep them on the road.
You know, with the popularity of trucks these days, people are always looking for something unique to do in the bed. And the simple reason is, it's the biggest, longest, flattest area on the whole truck. And one of the best ways to show that off is to stuff it full of wood. But we're not talking firewood here, we're talking bedwood. And not all beds are created equal. Neither is the wood that goes in them. So when we needed some unique wood to go into a project, we went to a place called Bedwood and Parts.
We sell a lot of ash, a lot of curly maple, a lot of sapelli, which is ribbon grain mahogany that's really pretty. But we've got something for everybody's budget. I always tell people, look at the color of your truck, look at the color of your interior. This bed floor is the largest flat surface on that truck, and it needs to pull all of that together.
Now, obviously, Bedwood makes direct bolt-in kits for all kinds of stock pickup beds. But since a lot of you guys out there are working on modified vehicles, where the beds have been cut or stretched or channeled or chopped or whatever, we're going to show you how to fit wood into that kind of a project, because it is different. Now, the example we're going to use is this 48 to 52 Ford bed that we cut 18 inches out of the center, 5 inches off the bottom, and custom fit it onto a 70s Snowcat. Okay, the first thing you need to do is decide how many planks you want, how wide they're going to be, how long they're going to be, all that good stuff. And don't forget to factor in the width of the strips and how you're going to mount those down to the bed as well. Having some scrap pieces will help you out a lot when you're laying this out. Once you have all that done, send those measurements off to Bedwood. What you'll get back are custom planks made to your specs. But we need to take a little closer look here so you can truly see how unique this stuff is. Each plank is hand-picked from the highest grade of lumber, so the face is 100% clear of defects. The wood is then precision milled with the upper and lower edges chamfered for better fit of the metal strips. Then they're 3-stage sanded for perfect flatness on all sides. Any logos that you want are then cut in with a laser.
I've got the specs from GM and Ford and Dodge on these different trucks and their beds. But we take all this, we put it in the CAD system, and then we look at the tolerances. They had enough tolerances because they did not seal their wood very well. Now with the sealants that we offer, when you seal our wood, you have dimensional stability. It's not going to move if it's sealed correctly.
Okay, at this point, you are ready to install your wood. And if your measurements are right, everything should just slide in place and fit perfectly. If they don't, well, then you need to get out the files and the sanders and make sure that they fit right. Now, once you get your wood fitting how it should, you're halfway there. The second half is fitting the strips and deciding what you're going to do with this rear edge here, because leaving the wood exposed like this, that just looks unfinished. So we need to choose the strips that we're going to use, and Bedwood has several available, both with exposed and hidden hardware. You just need to choose the one that's going to work best for you. This one here, called the Speed Bump, that's going to work best for us. Okay, to finish off our wood back here and make it look good, we're going to cap it with a piece of angled steel that we've cut to length. And you'll notice it just drops right in there. It's going to look great back here. But if you go to the other side, you notice we have a big gap here that does not look good because it's sitting on top of those speed bumps. So we need to fix that. After careful measuring, we'll cut a notch in the strip using a saw and finish it with a file to get it perfect. This will allow the rear trim piece to fit down on the bedwood and fit flush with the strips for a super clean finished look. The trim piece will then be held in place with some countersunk screws. Now, one of the biggest problems with an early style bed like this is you couldn't really strap down your cargo because you didn't want to strap to these bed sides because you would just bend them in. So people would just throw junk in the back and let it bang around. We're not going to do that. The best way to strap down cargo in this kind of bed is to use what is called the Classic Trax strip. Now, as you can see, this is an aluminum strip that has indentations every few inches the whole length of the strip. This allows you to take a tie down, slide it in place, and lock it in anywhere on the strip. Now, not only is this aluminum, so it's going to look good, but these tie downs are actually rated at 1,200 pounds of pull, so they actually serve a purpose. Another plus to these strips is that you can mount them anywhere. You can put them in place of any of these other strips. But if you take a close look at those, you can see that those are pretty rough. You don't want to stick a knee down on one of these things. So we are going to mount them all the way to the outside against the bed sides, because that's going to give us a nice trim piece against the bed, and it's going to allow us to strap down everything that we throw in the center, which is what we want. Now, once you have everything fit and drilled properly, you need to start thinking about how you're going to protect this wood. And bedwood has a two-part water-based sealer system called H2X. Now, step one impregnates the wood and seals it. Step two is the top coat that provides protection and beauty to the finish. And once this stuff is on, it can last for decades, even in outdoor applications. And that's really all there is to fitting custom wood into a custom bed. The biggest thing to remember here, the more time you spend on your measurements, making sure your cuts are precise and where they need to be, the better it's going to fit, and the better it's going to look.
And now, the Gladiator Search and Rescue Build, powered by Bestop.
Hey everybody, it's time for the next step on our Jeep Gladiator build, where we're showing you how to take a general purpose vehicle like a truck or a Jeep or an SUV and turn it into something more specific. Case in point, this is going to be a search and rescue vehicle. And we started simple with heavy-duty bumpers, a winch, and a front-end treatment. And once we get the paint finished on the front end, we're going to get it all back together. But today we're going to focus on the one area that actually makes the Gladiator really unique, and that is the removable top. Now, you wouldn't think that would be the case because one of the most popular hot rod vehicles of all time is the Ford Roadster pickup. And in the 80s and 90s, a popular customizing trick was to chop the roof off of your pickup truck. In spite of that fact, other than the original Scrambler, the OEMs have offered very few options when it came to convertible pickup trucks. Matter of fact, the new Gladiator is the only vehicle out there that combines a removable top with a bed, which means you've got some options here. Now, the first option, of course, is to keep the original hardtop on there. And it's good and solid and all of that, but it's a hardtop, which means from here back, the only fresh air option you have is that little window in the back. If you want more than that, it means you had to get an extra set of hands, you have to take the top off, you have to find a place to put it, and then hope and pray you're not 50 miles away from your top when the rains come. Which kind of defeats the purpose of having a convertible truck. You shouldn't have to choose between on or off. You should be able to transition between the two a lot easier than that. Now, the second option is one that solves all of these issues, and that is to take off the hardtop and put on a soft top. That's what we're going to do. Now, the soft top that we're going to be using is built by Bestop, and it's available through Mopar. And this is the factory original soft top that they offer as an alternative to that factory hardtop. Now, as you can see, it's got the metal folding mechanism, it's got heavy-duty canvas material, and of course all the brackets to put it in. But that's not the surprising thing. The surprising thing is how quickly all of these parts are going to go in that Jeep. Let's get to it. First, we'll install the rear cab panel, then bolt on the front side supports, followed by the rear side supports. Then we'll just set the roof section in place and bolt it down. After that, you just flip it forward and attach it at the factory locations above the windshield. The rear corner sections are next, and they snap in place, and the canvas tucks into the side supports for a watertight seal. The final step is to slide the rear window in and attach it on the sides and the bottom. And there it is, a Gladiator with a soft top. Now here's what that means. You can flip open the top in a few seconds for some open air driving. You can remove the rear window for more air in the rear. And if the rains do come, you can cover it all back up in about 20 seconds. Now, what about the bed on a Gladiator? What kind of options do you have back here? Well, there's a company named Soft Topper, and they make a soft tonneau cover out of the same heavy-duty canvas material as the soft top. It's got rubber seals down the sides, it's got latches in the back, and it will latch down and seal your bed and protect your cargo from the elements. Now, let's say you need more room. You're going to carry some big stuff. Well, you fold it up, and you strap it in place, and you store it right there. Now you have all kinds of room to carry your junk. Now, since this is going to be a search and rescue rig, we're going to load this bed up with a bunch of safety gear. So, we may not use this a lot, but that is a nice option to have. Finally, what about these doors? It'd be kind of nice to open those up a little bit, right? Well, Best Top has what they call the High Rock 4x4 element door. Now check these out. This is just a metal frame that is designed to fit right in place of your stock door. Look at this. Goes to the stock hinges, got a latch back here, and it really opens things up. Now they've got them for the back door, they've got them for the front door, and the front door, as you can see, even has a place for the mirror. So these are functional doors, but they're just designed to hold you in the vehicle, not hold the elements out. So since this is a search and rescue vehicle, probably not going to use those very much, except on really nice days. But once again, it's a nice option to have. And that's the great thing about a Jeep vehicle, whether it's a Wrangler or a Gladiator or whatever. There's a lot of options out there to really make it yours.
Shift Tech, brought to you by American Powertrain. Get your shift together.
You know, one thing that almost every gearhead can agree on is that shifting your own gears is one of the best parts of the overall driving experience. That's why so many people are pulling automatics out of their projects and putting standard transmissions in. But anytime the subject of transmission comes up, people start talking about clutches. And do you need the single disc clutch or the more exotic, expensive dual disc clutch? Well, let's take a look at that. Now, most people understand how a clutch works. You have your flywheel, then the clutch disc is sandwiched between the flywheel and the pressure plate. And that's what makes the connection between the engine and the transmission. Now, when you push on your clutch pedal, the pressure plate releases the clutch and allows you to shift gears. So, the clamping ability of your clutch is directly proportionate with the surface on the pressure plate, the clutch disc, and the flywheel. So, to get more clamping area, obviously you just make everything bigger, right? Well, it's a good idea, but you've got to fit everything in the bell housing. So the only way to get more clamping surface is to go to a dual disc design like this one from Centerforce. Now, as you can see, it's got a pressure plate. Then you have one clutch disc. Then you have the secondary plate, which is like a small flywheel. Then you have another clutch disc, and then the flywheel. Now, as you can see, this looks like a lot of moving parts, but this design will actually give you double the clamping force so you can handle high horsepower and high torque situations. So the question becomes, which is the best one for you? Because obviously more is better, right? Not necessarily. If you have 500 horsepower or less and usually drive on the street and make occasional passes on the track and burn some tires from time to time, a single disc performance clutch from a reputable company will be perfect, as they engage well, they have good pedal feel, and they have great gripping power. If you're running in the 500 to 700 horsepower range, well, now it gets a little dicey, because it's all about how you're using the vehicle. A performance single disc can survive unless you're making runs at the track every weekend, or you're pulling heavy trailers and loads with your diesel truck all the time. If you're doing that and roasting clutches, you might need to step up to a dual disc. And of course, anything over 700 horsepower, you really need to be running a dual disc clutch so you can get the holding and clamping power that you need. Well, hopefully this gives you a basic guideline to the single disc, dual disc dilemma. Obviously, there's a lot of variables here, but if you know how much power you got and the way you plan on using it, you'll be able to pick the right clutch every time.
Tool Tech, brought to you by Cornwell Tools, the choice of professionals.
You know, when you're working on a project, one thing's for sure. Eventually, you're gonna have to use a pry bar to get things to fit or to get them to come apart. And contrary to popular belief, the screwdriver is not a good pry bar or a chisel, although a lot of us have used them that way and probably destroyed our fair share of them. Fortunately, there's a whole bunch of pry bars out there that are built specifically for you to pound and twist and pull on them. So let's take a look at them. First, we have what is called the trim tool. And these are designed for removing pieces of trim or emblems or plastic clips, that kind of thing. And you'll notice they all have different ends on them, and they are built with either a flexible plastic handle or a metal one, and they're designed to give just enough pressure onto the part so you don't bend it or break it. Moving up, you have your short-handled pry bars, and you can get these things anywhere from 5 inches in length all the way up to about 24 inches in length. And this is starting to become a real pry bar. Notice you have a square metal shaft, hard plastic handles, and you have all kinds of different ends with different angles for different applications. These are perfect for helping align a motor onto a motor mount, or putting accessories in place, or just moving stubborn things around. When you move on to frame and suspension work, that's when things get serious and the big pry bars start to come out. Now notice on these, the thickness of the shaft grows as the length of the shaft grows. This way you don't bend them. Also on these big boys, notice that the handle grows too, so you can get 2 hands on it. And also the shaft goes all the way through the handle so you can hit the end with a hammer and not damage the handle. But sometimes even that's not enough leverage. So then what do? Well, you probably reach for a piece of pipe to give you more leverage. And that usually ends really bad because pipe was not made to pry with. So fortunately, Cornwell saw a need and they created the Beast. Weighing in at over 10 pounds and spanning 6 feet long with the shaft thickness of 3/4 of an inch of hardened square steel, this thing is capable of delivering tremendous leverage without bending or breaking due to its unique military spec metal treatment. Having a tool like this will allow you to move things that would be impossible with a shorter, weaker bar. Yeah, the world of pry bars is one place where length and size really does matter. And there's a lot of different sizes here to choose from. But if you need some serious prying power, there is nothing on the market like the Beast. And Cornwell is the only company that makes something like this. Why? Because they don't want you to ever be in a situation where your pry bar is too short to get the job done.
And now, what are you working on? Brought to you by Painless Performance Products. American made, American proud.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Kenny Strong. He's right up the road in Kentucky, and his project is a 1967 Cougar Torino. Now, I know you're thinking, what's that? Well, Kenny took a 1967 Mercury Cougar and cut the roof off of it and put on the roof of a 69 Fastback Torino. Take a look. Now, obviously, he's still deep in the middle of this thing, but as you can see, the Cougar is stripped, the roof was cut off, the Torino roof was resized, he made steel interior pieces to get it all to fit. Now, he says that the motor's set aside, the interior's set aside, and eventually this thing is going to be finished. And he says that they're going to show it off and they're going to run the Dragon's tail with it. How cool is that? So, Kenny, I know you're going to need a wiring harness. So, we hooked up with our buddies at Painless Performance. We're going to give you a gift card so you can get some wiring that you need for that car. Also, we're going to give you one of our project planning books so you can keep track of everything you're doing on that car. And believe me, you are going to need this. Also, we're going to give you one of our Gearz t-shirts because obviously you're a gearhead. And then we're going to give you a gift card from LMC because I guarantee you there's some stuff in this catalog that you're going to be able to use on that Cougar. And then, of course, we're going to give you one of our little tow trucks because you're going to be pulling home a lot of extra junk. Now, for the rest of you guys, if you want to get in on this, get your project featured on the show, go to the website, go to Gearz Nation, and submit it into What Are You Working On. The website's also the place to find out more information on any products you may have seen on the show, any Gearz merchandise, and how to join Gearz Nation so you can stream any of our episodes commercial-free. Also, don't forget to check us out on Amazon Prime, where you can watch past and current seasons of Gearz and check out our new show, Stacey David's Restoration Series. Now, this series is designed to help you stay on track and navigate the challenges so you can complete the project successfully and keep your sanity. Finally, don't forget to like us on Facebook and Instagram so you can get some behind-the-scenes footage of our weekly web series, Shifting Gears. And if you're a radio person, make sure you check out our new podcast, Tales of a Gearhead. All right, that wraps it up for us today. I've got a bed to finish on the Snowcat. Kenny has a lot of work to do on his Cougar. And you need a project. I know you've been looking at this GTO here. Why don't you go out and get one and start working on it? We'll see you next time.